Yo, welcome back to Eat, Sleep, Breathe, Hoops with your boy, Nicky P. Y'all know what time it is. Let's dive right into it. We've got to talk about the ultimate ejection from Victor Wembanyama. The flashpoint. Ladies and gentlemen, basketball fans, and especially those of you who stayed up late to watch the Western Conference playoff war, we need to talk about the moment. The moment when Victor Wembanyama, the unicorn, the face of the next decade, was sent to the locker room, not for a foul, not for a tech, but for an ejection in a playoff game of all things. Let's set the scene. The game is in the balance against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The intensity is at a level we haven't seen since the early 2000s. Bodies are hitting the floor. Jaden McDaniels is attached to Wemby's hip like a barnacle. Naz Reid is using every ounce of lower body strength to move the 7'4" Frenchman phenom off his spot, and then it happens. Pow! A scramble for a rebound. Wemby, frustrated, swings his right elbow back, and it catches Naz Reid flush, first on the side of the head, then sliding down into the neck area. The whistle shrieks, the refs huddle, they go to the monitor, and 2 minutes later, they signal the signal every player dreads, the ejection. My job today is to walk you through the 3 layers of this disaster. First, the specifics of the elbow and why. By the letter of the law, it was a flagrant 2. Second, the uncalled mauling that led to it. And third, why the NBA, with its playoff basketball ethos and its business model resting on stars, made a catastrophic mistake. The specifics, the elbow to the head and neck. Let's be precise. With 4:43 left in the third quarter, San Antonio's in a half-court set. Wemby secures an offensive rebound on the left block. Naz Reid is immediately on his back, fouling, chest to chest. Reid's left arm is across Wemby's midsection. Jaden McDaniels right on the other side, grabbing his jersey, grabbing his arms. As Wemby pivots toward the baseline, he raises his right arm, elbow extended, forearm parallel to the floor, and in one quick motion, he rotates his torso and drives the elbow back and upwards. Point of contact, flush on Naz Reid's jaw, and then the elbow rides down into the soft tissue of the lateral neck. Reid goes down immediately. He's not flopping. You see the whiplash effect. The referees, after reviewing the play, see the same thing we all see. A swing of the elbow that connects with the head and neck area. There is no play on the ball here. There is no basketball move. This is a retaliatory, frustration-fueled strike. Now, I want to read you Rule 12, Section 2, Subsection D of the NBA Rulebook. The flagrant foul rule. Quote, a flagrant foul penalty 2 involves unnecessary and excessive contact committed by a player against an opponent. It's an unsportsmanlike act. End quote. The league's memo to officials further clarifies that any elbow thrown above the shoulders that make contact with the head or neck, regardless of intent, is to be considered a flagrant 2 if there's a wind-up and a follow-through. Wemby had a wind-up. He had the follow-through, just like a jump shot. The contact was to the head and to the neck. By the letter of the law, the officials' hands were technically tied. If they called a flagrant 1 there, they opened themselves up to a grievance from the Players Association and a public reprimand from the league office for not following protocol. So yes, technically it was an ejection. But here's where the real convo starts. Because basketball is not played in a law book, it's played in the paint and out on that hardwood. The prelude, the grabbing and pulling from Reid and McDaniels. Now let's rewind the tape. Not just 15 seconds, but the entire 5 minutes leading up to that elbow. We need to talk about what the Timberwolves are doing on defense. Look, I respect physicality. Jaden McDaniels is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league for a reason. But in the 2 possessions prior to the ejection, here's what happened, uncalled. Possession 1, Wemby sets a high screen. McDaniel goes under the screen, but as Wemby rolls, McDaniel grabs his left arm with both hands, holding it for a full 2 seconds. No call. The league's own freedom of movement point of emphasis say that's a foul every single time. Possession 2, entry pass to Wemby in the post. Naz Reid has his left forearm pressed into Wemby's lower back while simultaneously hooking Wemby's right arm with his own. That's a hook and hold. That's a foul. The official is standing 10 feet away. No whistle. The fatal possession. Wemby goes for the rebound. As he jumps, Jaden McDaniels from the weak side clamps both hands onto Wemby's left shoulder and pulls him backwards, also grabbing it at his jersey. Wemby lands off balance. Naz Reid then swims over Wemby's back, making contact with his elbow on Wemby's shoulder blade. The rebound is lost, and only then does Wemby throw his elbow. Here's what I need you to understand. Wemby is not a dirty player. He's never been ejected for a flagrant elbow before. What he is a 20-year-old kid who has been held, grabbed, hooked, and pulled and pushed for 4 straight possessions without a single whistle. that you get to your boiling point after a while. The officials lost control of the physicality. They let McDaniels and Reed treat Wemby like a wrestling dummy. And when a 7'4" man decides I've had enough and swings back, that's not malice. That's a predictable outcome of poor officiating. The fouls that should have been called, the holding, the grabbing, the hooking, the pulling, those happened before the elbow. Call those, and Wemby is shooting free throws. He's not throwing bows. Now, playoff basketball, the best player and why the ejection was bad for the NBA. Let's talk about the context that the rule book doesn't capture. This is a playoff game. In the playoffs, the whistle gets swallowed. We all know this. We've accepted it for decades. Michael Jordan got hand-checked into the third row. Shaquille O'Neal got hacked so hard he needed ice on his knees after every game. LeBron James in 2015 finals had more scratches on his arms than the Cat Scratch Fever poster. And in those eras, did the officials eject the best player for a retaliatory elbow? Almost never. Let me take you back to the early 2000s. The 2002 Western Conference Finals. The 2005 Pacers-Pistons brawl aside. Do you remember what they did call in those games? They called flagrant ones. If this exact play happened in 2002, Wemby swings, hits Nas Reed and flush in the head and neck, the refs would have huddled together. They would have said flagrant one, replay, 2 shots and the ball. And then they would have gone to the scorer's table and said under their breath, we're not throwing the best player out in the world in a potential elimination game. Because that is the unwritten rule of superstar treatment in the NBA. You protect the product, you protect the marquee, and Victor Wembanyama is not just the best player on the floor tonight. He is right now the most valuable asset in the sport. He's the heir to LeBron's throne. He's the reason casual fans bought League Pass. He's the reason this game had a 1.8 rating in a non-major market. By ejecting him, the officials did 3 things that hurt the league. 1, they turned a competitive physical playoff game into a non-contest. Without Wemby, the Spurs collapsed. They fought for a little bit, but ultimately folded. That game became garbage time. Fans turned off their TVs. They sent a message to the defenders. You can grab, hold, and pull the best player for 5 straight possessions with impunity. But if he reacts, he's gone. That is the exact opposite of what you want for player safety. If you call the early fouls, you prevent that late elbow. And 3, they violated the spirit of playoff basketball. Playoff basketball is about letting them play. It's about settling disputes on the scorecard, not via automatic ejections. A flagrant 2 is for malice. It's for a punch. It's for a shove in the back of a player midair. This was a frustration swing after being mauled. That's a flagrant 1 in any reasonable universe. The alternative timeline? Let me paint you a better picture. In the early 2000s, the referee crew chief, a veteran like Joey Crawford or Steve Jabby, sees the first McDaniel grab, whistle, foul. Sees the Reed hook, whistle, second foul. By the time Wemby gets the rebound, the physicality is at a simmer, not a boil. Then the elbow happens. The crew chief goes to the monitor. He watches the replay. He sees the contact to the head and neck. He knows technically it's a flagrant 2, but then he considers everything we just discussed. He says flagrant 1, unnecessary but non-excessive. Excessive would have been a punch. Excessive would have been a 2-handed shove. This was a single elbow swing after being held. Play on. Wemby stays in the game. The crowd roars. The tension ratchets up even higher. The NBA gets a classic finish. And the next morning, the league office quietly sends out a memo saying, we reviewed the play. The officials used proper discretion given the prior uncalled contact. That's how you manage that game. That's how you protect your product and protect the brand. Conclusion, the wrong call at the worst time. Here's the bottom line. By the letter of the law, Victor Wembanyama's elbow to Nas Reed's head and neck area was a flagrant 2. Yes, the rules say if you wind up and hit the head, you're gone. But the NBA is not a court of law. It's entertainment. It's a physical battle. And the officials failed at their most important job, controlling the game before it explodes. They let McDaniels and Reed grab and pull and hack like offensive linemen. They ignored freedom of movement. And then, when the predictable retaliation happened, they dropped the hammer on the best player in the league in the middle of a critical playoff game. That's not justice. That's not safety. That's cowardice hidden behind the rule book. And it was bad for the NBA. Once again, it's your boy, Nicky P. It says eat, sleep, breathe, hoops. Go hop in that comment section, smash that like button, let me know what you thought about the ejection, and let's chop it up. And until the next time, peace.